Hello everyone, TheSkilledRoy here, and welcome to the start of another reveal season for Legends of Runeterra. As you may have already seen, we recently got the first champion for the upcoming expansion revealed to us. Dave Guskin, game director for Legends of Runeterra, did a whole video showcasing Kai'Sa, the daughter of the Void. I'll quickly let him describe Kai'Sa for all of you.
A child of darkness, this champion is caught between two worlds and will do anything to keep them from colliding. Though she fights fiercely to protect Runeterra, many see her not as a hero, but as a monster. Especially frogs. I don't know why, but frogs really go out of their way to avoid her.
Now, I am absolutely excited to see more Void-based cards coming to the game, even if they're a part of the Shuriman region. However, that wasn't all. Dave also spoke to us briefly about other upcoming champions that we could be expecting to be arriving alongside Kai'Sa. Here, take a quick listen.
Now, while Kai'Sa will be headlining the next expansion, she's not the only new champion joining us. We'll also be introducing new cards that thrive in darkness, and some unlikely heroes whose power sources, like Kai'Sa's, are a little bit unconventional.
So, let's pay close attention to his wording right here. There seems to be two other champions coming with Kai'Sa, one who thrives in darkness, and the other whose power sources, like Kai'Sa, are a little bit unconventional.
Boo.
So let's break these statements down, because this is the first big first-party hint we've had for these upcoming champions. The first I'd like to talk about is the power sources who are a little bit unconventional. This is because I think I have a pretty great idea as to who that is going to be. So let me take you back to another video we did covering a leaked keyword, Hallowed. Hallowed was discovered in the files of the game and was specifically for set 6, which is the set we're currently on. Now, for those of you who are unaware of the lore implications, Hallowed is a concept that is very specifically about a key power source in Runeterra, which is called the Hallowed Mist. The Hallowed Mist is essentially a powerful, positive version of the Black Mist. The Black Mist, as you know it in Legends of Runeterra, is Viego and his related cards. This Hallowed Mist is typically wielded by the scissor-wielding doll, Gwen, who looks out to protect people from the Shadow Isles. In particular, there's an interesting little crossover here and similarity between Gwen and Kai'Sa. Both of them are using powers that aren't typically good for good. Kai'Sa is using the Void symbiote to fight back against the Void, and Gwen is using a good version of the Black Mist to fight against the Shadow Isles mist creatures and monsters. This is what I believe Dave is referring to when he says whose power sources, like Kai'Sa, are a bit unconventional. Now, this isn't the only proof we have either. Recall previously that I used the focus on the Bilgewater Path of Champions to figure out that Illaoi was coming to the game. During that reveal, when they spoke about the future Path of Champions, they highlighted another upcoming region that we could expect to see updates for. And what region was that? Well, of course, it was the Shadow Isles. This implies that the next region being added to Path of Champions, and thus one of the new upcoming champions, just like Annie and just like Illaoi, is going to be from the Shadow Isles, which is of course where Gwen is typically located. This is pretty clear cut to me. Gwen is certainly very likely to be arriving in this upcoming expansion. Now, next up we have the other statement Dave made, thriving in darkness. This one is unfortunately much more vague, as plenty of League of Legends champions could be seen as thriving in darkness to some extent, say like Vex or Talon. Hell, the number one champion I think of when I think of darkness is actually Nocturne. Unfortunately, he's already in the game, so that's not very likely. However, I do think there is something extremely important to keep in mind here. Runeterran champions. With Kai'Sa being said to be coming from Shurima, and Gwen clearly being from the Shadow Isles, the last champion almost certainly is going to be a Runeterran champion, as they just introduced this new type of champion, and it's very unlikely they're going to stop with just Jhin and Bard. So this means that we could probably cut out a good number of champions who are typically going to fall under a specific region. This means no Talon, as he's pretty much explicitly Noxus, and no Vex because she's clearly a Bandle City or Shadow Isles champion. So I think there's probably one champion specifically who isn't tied to a region and has a connotation with darkness, and that of course is Evelynn. Evelynn is a shape-shifting demon who is focused on delivering extreme amounts of pain. As described by the wiki, Evelynn lures in prey with her female human form, but once her target makes themselves vulnerable, she reveals her true form and feeds off of their pain. In particular though, she was not always this powerful. In fact, her origins specifically name her as barely sentient and barely a shadow. Now this focus on shadows even from her origin is actually interesting because it obviously ties in a bit with darkness, but it also ties in with how she plays in League of Legends, as she is a character who can gain access to permanent invisibility via her passive. She uses this ability to stalk and kill champions in that game, which seems to perfectly encapsulate the idea of thriving in darkness. There's also a small possible thematic connection between Kai'Sa and Evelynn. Kai'Sa is a human who is often mistaken as a monster and therefore isn't able to help people as much as she can. On the other hand, Evelynn is a monster who is often mistaken as a human and uses that to her advantage. Now, I fully admit that these connections and possibilities could be anything, and honestly, until recently, I wasn't even going to cover this as I didn't think there was enough substantial evidence. But with some new data mining, we now specifically have something that showcases something really interesting. In the files right now, you can find specific files talking about Evelynn. These ones are actually about the KDA event we had not too long ago, which brought the spell Go Hard and Pack Your Bags to the game, which those two spells reference Evelynn's Q and R from League of Legends. However, there is now a new Evelynn mention for the first time since that event, and it reads as follows. Evelynn 2, Textures, Evelynn Level Down Noise. Now this is very interesting. The first thing to note is the S006 you can see, which clearly represents the set 6, the set we're currently in. And then it seems to note that not only is Evelynn coming to the game, but she's actually going to be capable of leveling down. This is very similar to Gnar, who has a transforming leveling up and leveling down, which could speak to how Evelynn enters and exits her human and shadowed forms, depending on her card text. Perhaps she has a reference to her ultimate that resets her back to her level 1 form while giving her a powerful effect. And so with this final piece of evidence, I think we have our champions for the upcoming expansion. Kai'Sa, as shown already, Gwen, who is likely going to be coming thanks to the Hallowed leak and the Shadow Isles preview, and finally Evelynn, who thrives in darkness and is data mined to be coming in this set overall. Reveal season should be starting soon, so let's see if these two are coming to the game. And hey, if you want to come hang out with the rest of us speculators and data miners, I have a Discord where I work with everyone to try and find the latest news on LOR. Or of course, you can follow me on Twitter where I post most of my updates on my content and all the other things I've been finding online. But otherwise, that is it for me. Thank you so much, everyone. Peace out.